You're listening to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by.
On the morning shift.
Anything could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
Hey, good morning. Welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh. Glad to be here with you. Thankful that you're here with us. We're live on CKLU, 96.7 FM on the radio. We're also streaming at cklu.ca. You can click on the radio click on the Radio Player Canada app. You can stream us that way. You can also download the same Radio Player Canada app and then take us with you. And listen to us anywhere, anytime on your favorite device. Or maybe not even your favorite one. You can listen to us on any device. Also streaming at facebook.com/Sudbury News, youtube.com/Sudbury News. That's live. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, follow those pages and channels, but mainly comment on them when we're live, because I'll do my best to read them for those listening online and listening on the radio. And I'll get them up on the screen for those watching afterwards on the show. It can be found on demand at Facebook and YouTube, also Twitter, now X, and also Sudbury.news. Click on the Sudbury News Talk tab at the top. And then you can also join the conversation on YouTube and, well, mainly Facebook afterwards. You can continue the conversation in the comments section, and we encourage everybody to do that. This is your conversation on your station, and it's 100% volunteer show on 100%, pretty much 100% volunteer radio station here in Sudbury. CKLU is our campus and community radio station, been around since 1984. Started off in a little trailer on Ramsey Lake Road, and now it's the old in the old Telegraph building, part of the new MacEwan School of Architecture, all under Laurentian University. We're grateful for the medium, and we're grateful that we're grateful for CKLU. We're grateful for the platforms that allow us to do this particular show in this particular way. We are remote, even though the studio is located on the corner of Elgin and Elm Street. MacEwan School of Architecture, the old Telegraph building. I'm coming to you from my studio, and we're coming in remotely. So without technology, we would not be able to do that. And so we're grateful for that. We have a great show planned for you today. And we'll look at the state of the country and policies that make it that way. Do you think our country is great due to the policies? Our country, let's say, is already great. But what makes a country great? Like, what made our country great? If you subscribe to saying that, I'm Canadian. So you say that? Do you say, I'm Canadian? What is it? It's kind of mixed these days. Like, what does that even mean that you're Canadian? And do you feel that it's because it was shaped by certain people to begin with that made it great, or it just is great? Or just isn't great? Like what? Like, what do you think goes into making a country great or not? It just happens. It's just happens to be that way, regardless of what anyone does in terms of governance and laying out the rules of a nation to be able to help it to thrive. Do you think that just happens on accident? Or do you think it's because of people's visions and things in the past that laid the groundwork to be able to have a country that could prosper and make a country great, let's say, right? The quality of living. Are you able to make a living? Are you able to raise a family? Are you able to afford food? Are you able to buy a home? Are you able to live out your dreams? Are you able to say, I really want to do this, work hard and have it done, and then you can achieve that. Is that what your country has allowed you to do all of these years? And is that possibly what makes it great? Well, you know, these types of things may be changing very rapidly for us, and we'll look into that. And so a lot of people feel what's happening right now is going to make it even greater, like the policies that are happening that are diminishing our standard of living, getting rid of the middle class, making food twice or 2.5% more expensive, high gas prices, that all of these things are leading to a utopian world that all of us can hold hands and sing together with somehow. And I still haven't been able to connect those dots, but I do have people who do believe these things, and I'm wondering how that is. And if you just look at the state of our downtown, state of people experiencing homelessness, it's not just our downtown, by the way. Larger cities it's even worse than our downtown. And so it's not just a Sudbury thing. It's not just an Ontario thing. It's a Canada thing. And it's possibly a world thing as well. So what leads us to these types of things in society? Is it just an accident? Does it just happen? That's just the cycle of things, you know? It's like the four seasons in a way, you know? There's fall, there's winter, there's spring, there's summer. Sometimes, you know, things are good, and then sometimes you're addicted to crack and you're on the streets. You know, it's just one of those cycles we go through as a society, right? I don't think so. I think there's people that make decisions for other people, utilizing the resources of their citizens, that make decisions that affect the lives of those that they're governing. And we can see the results by seeing the results. It's not that hard of a thing to understand. However, we live in this world of, let's say, politics or whatever. And so if your guy is in, you go all the way with them. You know what I mean? You fight tooth and nail, even if they're pouring gasoline around you and they got a match in their hand and they're about to drop it on the ground. You're my guy, man. You're my guy. I know you're about to light me on fire, but that other guy's worse. He might do worse to me than you're doing. You know, it's just this. Honestly, it's that simple. And we don't understand. You can't just separate those things and look at the destruction that one person even is capable of doing to a country. And if that's your guy, you're gonna go all the way right off the cliff with that guy because he's your guy. You know what I mean? Like where do we get this mentality from? It's interesting. But it is what it is. We'll talk more about that when we come back after the weather. A little bit of sports today. We do have some information on the Sudbury Five in the playoffs. We've been waiting for this. It's come in. We're ready to let everyone else know what that entails, and we have a lot to talk about today. A lot to unpack. There's some local news headlines we're going to be talking about, and like I said, the deep dive into our country, what makes our country great or not, and how we can, what are we going to do? That's what I want to. What are you going to do even though our country is the way it is? Can you do anything about it? Do you feel powerless? Can you do anything? What are you going to do? What are we doing to make our place the way we want it to be? Okay, well, we'll be back with weather and all this stuff afterwards. Stay tuned. It's going to be a great show. And Bob Zinob was just texting me here as we were having the show going on. So thanks for agreeing with what we were talking about at the beginning of the show. And what am I doing here? I'm supposed to be putting some weather up into the top third there. There we go. So currently it is 10 degrees Celsius. It is foggy apparently, and periods of rain or drizzle are going to end near noon, and then it's going to be cloudy with a 40% chance of showers. That's great. We do need the rain. We've been very dry the past couple days, right? And that's sarcasm. And fog patches dissipating near noon, high of 12. UV index is 2 or low, so you can go outside and not worry about the UV index. Tonight, mainly cloudy, 40% chance of showers this evening. Fog patches developing near midnight, low of 6. And that's what it's saying. And then Wednesday, cloudy, showers beginning near noon, fog patches dissipating. So this is interesting. Just a second here, because it is Wednesday today. And the weather, no matter how many times I refresh it, this is from Environment Canada, it's kind of stuck. But the long range, I think it's still going to be the same forecast regardless. So there's going to be periods of rain, temperature is what it is. And tomorrow we can expect cloudy with a high of 16, 40% chance of showers on Friday, and 60% chance of showers on Saturday, and the temperatures are getting above 15. So 18 on Friday, 15 on Saturday, 15 on Sunday. And that's the only time that we're forecast to have a little bit of sun. So a mix of sun and cloud on Sunday and Monday, both 15 degrees. Now your satellite is current, and it's basically showing a lot more rain coming towards us, which we're really grateful for, because we need as much rain as we possibly can get, right? April was mostly rain. Today is May 1st, and it's looking like we're going to get the same thing for at least the first week of May. Who knows after that? But another system is moving into our area, as you can see, just on the other side of the Great Lakes, coming into Michigan, all the way up to Winnipeg, and all the way down on the side of Michigan, coming our way. So we can expect more rain in the near future. And that is your Sudbury weather, brought to you by SudburyWeather.ca. We'll be back with a little bit of sports, news headlines, your comments, and more. And Sudbury Sports, brought to you by SudburySports.ca. The Sudbury Five are in the playoffs, and they're set to host an action-packed inaugural basketball Super League semifinal against the London Lightning. This Monday, May the 6th, they'll be in town. Tip-off is set for 7. The Five are coming off a successful road trip, which saw them defeat the Kitchener-Waterloo Titans by 27 points, and a big win, postseason clinching win against the Windsor Express. Monday's game kicks off the first of the postseason on the Five's home court. They will be playing their first game, however, in London, and then coming here for the second game. But it's our first home court game. It's the first game you can get out and actually see them on the court. The first 1,000 fans in attendance for Monday's game will receive Sudbury Five Thunder Sticks to bring the noise. The Five are hungry to bring Sudbury a championship. The party is just getting started. Secure your tickets for Monday's game at the Sudbury Arena box office or online at greatersudbury.ca/tickets. Season members who purchase playoff tickets can access their tickets in their online digital account or by visiting the box office to pick up printed tickets. Access cards will not be valid during the playoffs. Don't miss out on the action. You can also catch the game at the BSL TV at bsltv.tv. That's where you can catch them live. So game 1 goes ahead Saturday, May the 4th at 7 p.m. in London. And then their first game, as we said, here on Monday, May the 6th, 7 p.m. Then back to London for 7 p.m. And if necessary, they will come back again on the 10th, on Friday. And then back to London if necessary for a game 5. So this is a 5-game series. So the first team to win 3 games will win the semifinals and move on their way to the finals. That's your Sudbury Sports, brought to you by SudburySports.ca. We'll be back. News headlines, your comments, and more after this. Okay, let's see. We have a few people on this morning, quite a few, about the average for the last few shows. And so it's a good chunk of people, around 20 people on Facebook anyways, not counting YouTube. And I don't know if even that's 100% accurate or not. It's not the most accurate reading on the platform. One thing on Facebook tells me we're over 1,000 followers, and then the one that actually shows for people to view shows us stagnating at 6,993 people. So they do that every time you're about to go to another 1,000 followers. Somehow they have the ability, and I don't know how they do it. They just prevent more followers from showing anyways on the main page. And I don't know why. It doesn't make sense to me. There's no reason for it that I can think of, but they do it every time you go another 100 followers. They hold it at 90 some for a while. And then all of a sudden it's like they take their finger off the button and then you're over the hump. And I really honestly don't know what that is, but I've seen that pattern ever since this page has been in existence, and it's just odd. So Judy, good morning. First to the Facebook party. Thanks for being with us. Monique, good morning. Sudbury, smiley emoji. Maurice, good morning. Smiley emoji. To you, good morning to you as well. Marianne, good morning. Everyone from sunny, very cool. Sunny Berry. Let's some of that sunshine up here. Liked and shared as usual. Good morning, Belinda. If someone tells you you can't, they're showing you their limits, not yours. You are what you believe yourself to be. 100% true in most cases. In most cases, if it's doable, then it's achievable, right? If it can be done, then you have the chance of doing it. Some things can't be done though, obviously too, right? So we always have to keep that in mind. Now I understand and I appreciate the saying that whatever you put your mind to, you can do. That's possible. And sometimes we even need to know, well, maybe ignorance is bliss in that case. If you just don't take anybody's, idea of what's possible or not, but there's reality, right? So if I think I can be a bird and I go up to my roof and I jump and I want to believe I can do that, there are some things in reality that would tell me that is impossible, right? So I need to know what is impossible first. So just to get rid of the impossible things and then put my mind to whatever is possible, and I can achieve it. So there's a lot more that's possible than is impossible. But always, as I appreciate the positiveness of the day, positive statement to whatever you put your mind to, you can do, and that is true. Don't take other people's doubting of you as something that tells you what your limits are or not. That's totally and entirely up to you. Marianne says, saw your video. I have no words. Shameful tax dollars pay for a rogue government and city councillors. Yes, for sure. Good morning, everyone. Stay safe and healthy. All have a wonderful day. Denise, you as well. Belinda, a place where questions are not allowed is a dangerous place. We need to fight hard against this censorship and suppression. For sure, there is censorship and suppression. It always has been. Whoever holds the keys can lock the door when they want or open it. And one day we'll all have keys, right? And we'll be able to open the doors and ourselves. The day will come. Not here yet. Good day all. Monique, thanks for being with us. Denise, before they took mother out of the house, substituted drugs for spanking family makes a country. Yeah, we were talking about what makes a country, right? And I think it is individuals and then individuals in families, and then families in communities, and communities in regions, and then regions within the country. All of that then makes a country, a collective. It comes down to the individual first. The individual is fostered usually by a family that can help us progress from a young age in a positive way, in a nurturing way. Then we become solid individuals that contribute to society locally and abroad. And then if you have enough of those individuals, it collectively makes for a strong, vibrant country. So thanks for that, Denise. David, good morning. Take care. Stay safe. Same to you, David. Monique, it's unreal. A lot of waste. There is a lot of waste. There is a lot of waste. There is billions and billions and billions of dollars wasted of your money on a regular basis currently. So that's pretty spectacular in my mind, very unprecedented and very alarming in a lot of ways. Morning, Vin. Thanks for being on. And Belinda, Monique, okay, it was great video yesterday. Boy, our city is so compromised. That is true. It is. Denise, Pierre Poilievre was kicked out of Parliament. All Conservatives left. Did you see it? Yes. I'll have a video on that a little bit later, talking about that and the reasons why they left. Jerome, good morning, Sudbury neighbors. Thanks for being with us. Denise, also Canadians are licking their wounds. They haven't been to war yet. Yeah, no, that's true. We are, since the last major war, it's been a long time, and unfortunately, history has a tendency of repeating itself. I shared a meme on my personal Facebook the other day, and it says, "We learn from history that we do not learn from history." And that's from Hegel. We learn from history that we do not learn from history. I love that. It's so true. And I love these sayings and things. Not even sure. I didn't go and research if that's indeed a Hegel quote or not. So I will just say that this meme says Hegel. I do have to say that because some people may instead of just listening to the message, get caught up on, who said that? There's memes out there that aren't true and all these things, right? But it's not the point. The point is whoever said that is saying something very true. And we'll have more on who said something. We'll have a quote from Margaret Thatcher leading us into our deep dive. And a lot of people say, Margaret Thatcher, it was terrible, because that's political, right? But we need to listen to what the quote was by her and not necessarily who was saying it, and just think to ourselves if what she said was true. And that's a good start to thinking for yourself. Miles says, good morning, and good morning to you, Miles. Because he said the Libs' drug policy is wacko, which it is, that's true. That's why they were expelled. Well, he was expelled along with another MP, I think, because he refused to retract his statement of wacko. But he wasn't calling the Prime Minister wacko. He was calling his policies wacko. See, there is a difference. But the Liberal House Speaker then said that Poilievre had to leave because he wouldn't retract. Although the day before, the other side, the Liberals, were able to say that Poilievre basically won't denounce his support from white supremacists and misogynists, which he was referring to people that oppose this current government and are fighting for freedom. So they call them freedom fighters, which they've gotten a bad connotation in the mainstream media, right? But he was referring to Poilievre associating with these people, like whatever that means, that they are white supremacists. So I know myself, I'm not a white supremacist. I happen to have been born white, I guess you can say, by all indications of how we categorize people in the world. But I'm not a white supremacist. And what does that even mean? And how could they get away with saying that to Poilievre and they didn't have to retract that statement and they weren't kicked out? But then he just says policies that were made by this government are wacko, the policies, not the people. He was then thrown out. But so you see, it's not, the House Speaker is supposed to be a referee. Didn't seem to be doing a good job there. If you compare those two just very recent things, it seems to be he's allowing a little bit of his liberal bias, which we all have bias, right? He's liberal. He's a liberal MP. So more than likely there was bias there. You'd have to think if he's throwing one out for doing the same thing or something similar, not throwing the other one out, it's on his side, right? So optics, I don't know if you don't mind it. I don't think a lot of liberals, as far as I know, mind that kind of thing. They actually embrace it because they're right and you're wrong and they can do whatever they want is what I'm getting, right in the face of, everything's burning down and you're like, look, all your policies led to all this burning down. They don't recognize that it's them doing it. They'll keep blaming other people for what they've done. It's interesting, right? So the state of the economy, who's responsible for that? Like what's going on with our country? Like they keep blaming Poilievre for things. He's never even been in power at all. He's just the opposition. So whose responsibility is this country? Like really take accountability. It's really interesting. I don't understand it. I wasn't able to articulate what I was trying to say there as good as I possibly could. But so many people who might be, let's say, a liberal voter or whatever would say that doesn't make any sense. And I haven't been prepared to explain that. And so I apologize. Maybe I'll come back to explain that a little bit later, what I've seen happen. I kind of did a little bit with, again, it's like if I'm liberal right now, I would be livid of what my leader is doing to the country. So I'm not liberal. I'm not conservative. I'm not whatever. I'm for the people. I'm for making policies that would be for people's best interest, period. It wouldn't matter what party I'm in at all. It wouldn't matter. The one that I gravitate towards the most is conservative because that is the closest to my personal core values of managing finances in a way that I would manage my home's finances even better because it's your money I'm managing. I would treat that as sacred as could be because I couldn't feel good at night going to bed knowing I was wasting someone else's money in any particular way and they would feel that I was doing that. I would go out of my way to have people know that I was treating their money with the utmost respect and it was going towards things that was only going to benefit them. And I would do my best to communicate that to people, period. Done. Right? So it doesn't matter what party you're in. It's what you're doing. We got to get out of this whole liberal NDP conservative thing and really just look at what's being done. Look at what's being promised. Look if people keep their promises. What are their end goals? What are they trying to accomplish? What are they saying? Really just hear these things. Don't just see your guy. This is my guy. It's like groupthink. And it doesn't do us any good to have that kind of group mentality. You know what I mean? It's like, just see things for what they really are. Is it good for you or is it not good for you? Done. Like, is this guy good or is he not? Black and white. It doesn't matter what political party they subscribe to. Anyways, yeah, so Belinda says they feel our presence with everybody uniting against them. They're few and we are many. We are making a difference. Exposure on the worldwide stage is true. Yes. The people have always been a thing, right? All throughout history. The people. The United States came out and even declared that in their, beginning of a country, we the people kind of thing, right? That's where their government started. The government was we the people, not we the government and you the people. That's the way we are here in Canada. It's the government and the people. We know that. We'll learn a little bit more about that as the show goes on. And we'll have to get to that very quickly. People need to tax revolt at this point. They need our money, bottom line, for sure. Okay, we're just going to have to move on here. I'm getting everyone's comments up on the screen as we go. And shout outs to those who are joining us. Good morning, Pat. Thanks for being on this morning. And we'll get things rolling with a few local headlines. And then we'll move on into our bit of a deep dive into the state of our country. The province is expanding the northern, and good morning, Mona. Thanks for being on. The province is expanding Northern Ontario Health Travel Grant. Now, a lot of people living outside of Sudbury or Toronto having to travel for medical issues. There's an expense to that, right? They don't have the medical care in their community, which we'll talk about a little bit later why that is. Like, we should have it. There's no reason why we don't have it. We pay enough taxes. We should all have good health care. But here's a way, I guess your tax dollars are being used. If you don't have the proper medical facilities in your hometown, at least you'll be reimbursed for your travel to the hotel and food and whatever, right? So the province is expanding $45 million over 3 years on the program, upgrading the hotel accommodation rate, moving 100-kilometer deductible for mileage reimbursement, things like that. Good morning, Pam. Thanks for being on. And Linda as well. Good morning. And then Greater Sudbury. This is from the CBC. The last story was from Sudbury.com. The reading news headlines from Sudbury.news, where all of our news aggregates into one convenient location. And good morning, Lynn. Thanks for being on as well. Sudbury wants to protect 30% of its lands and waters by 2030. This 2030 keeps coming up for some reason when it has to do with things like this in terms of, the earth and climate and green. And 2030 is a pretty important year for this type of movement, right? For anyone doing anything to do with preserving the earth, electric cars, these types of things. Okay, Cindy, thanks for being on. I just want to read, seems like the city council also is comfortable with throwing our money around also. So it's not just federal as well, right? So we talked about yesterday how the city 4 years ago was $40 million in debt. That sounds like a lot to me. I would never want to be $40 million in debt. The debt I've ever had in my life is enough. I don't need $40 million. But since then, and with the proposed new conference center, arena, library that we're getting, we will be over $600 million in debt. So city, as well as going into debt. Who's paying? How much interest is on this money? At least we have low interest rate now, right? Thanks to the policies of our government. Oh wait, no, we don't. We have high interest. We're borrowing the most the city's ever going to be in debt by a long shot. And the interest rates are as high as they've been since the 80s, I think. So pretty crazy stuff going on in our own city. But we want to preserve 30% of our lands and waters by 2030. So this is remarkable, right? This is great news. I think they're pretty much preserved as far as I can see. But anyways, whatever that means. So the working group spearheading the initiative says that the goal can be attained by identifying areas to protect within existing Crown, municipal, and institutional lands. More on that from CBC. Now, a lot of northern communities, this is from CBC as well, Northern Ontario cities to spend millions on road upgrades this summer. Drivers in northeastern Ontario can expect more delays along some of the region's busiest roads as construction season gets underway. Yay! As much as we complain about the bad roads being held up by construction, as just as painful in many ways, right? Driving on some roads between here and Timmins over the weekend, and there's patches of road. And you can tell it was done like a long time ago. It's already really gray. It's got a pinkish tone to it. Not one pothole. Going miles and miles and miles. Not one pothole, not one crack. They didn't need to do that stuff where they fill in the cracks there with tar. None of that. The road was totally intact. So what did they make that road from that was different from the roads we're used to? Like, why can't we make our roads with the same stuff that lasts 30 years? Like that road was. I'm driving there. I'm talking to my wife. I'm saying that's the type of thing that government doesn't do these days. Like, I'm sure they ride the same roads. I'm sure they also are made up of skin and eyeballs and ears and a brain inside. And, you know, they have this, they're human beings and they think and they're driving and they go, wow, this road is very smooth and very intact. I wonder why it's so good. What makes this road so good? And then they don't think, well, why don't we look into what it's made of? Who did the construction? And let's start doing our construction to a higher level so our roads last longer and our money goes further. We're not wasting more money to keep repairing roads over and over. Sudbury, you know, they make a road and the year later they're already repairing it. Something's wrong with that. Something's wrong. And then you see it in other communities as well, and some of our highways, but not all. You get on the 407 in Toronto and you notice that thing's going to last for 40, 50 years, maybe even more. And why is that? It's made of concrete. So it's concrete, right? But why is the 407 made of concrete? And our other roads aren't. Well, it's private. It's a private road. They're making money off the road. Oh, wait. So it's private. They're making money off the road. So they don't want the road to degrade. So they use their own money to fix it over and over. So they use the best materials to make the road last as long as it can because it's private. I wonder if there's a difference between private and public, the way people manage money and the decisions they make. There must be. See, I'm not a rocket scientist, and I'm able to see that, right? So politicians are there's some kind of advantage somewhere using our roads to degrade quickly and redo them. So I don't know why, because it's only common sense that you would want a road to last a long time. But ours don't, but private ones do. So why can't we do the same thing that private roads are doing to make sure and ensure their roads last a very long time? Right? Good morning, Louise. Thanks for being on. Morning, y'all. That's true. These initiatives, Agenda 2030, you can look it up. Just look at Agenda 2030, UN on Google. You can read their documents right from them. A lot of people that are naysayers on that, you tell them some of the goals that they have. Like, that's not true. That's not true. That would never happen. You tell them to go read the document. They don't. But they keep telling you it's not true. I don't understand how someone can do that. You know, it's right in plain sight what the plans are for our world from these unelected groups of people planning your world, your future, that this type of thing is coming into our city now. And we're seeing, yeah, we're going to do these things in your city that are all, it's going to be the unicorn, utopian world, you know, where it's green and everything's great. And we're going down the road already with green energy. And stay tuned for Friday's show. We're going to have more on that, on what the real green economy actually is and who it's for, and does it serve you well, and is it going to have a good outcome? What is the outcome of this, all this stuff? You know, there's some nefarious things in there. Anyways, for more news, check out Sudbury.news, where CBC Sudbury, CTV Northern Ontario, Sudbury Star, and Sudbury.com headlines land, and you can read them all from there. You click on the story, it goes right to the other website, so they get the eyeballs, they get the money from it. And so we're just doing a service for our community if you want to check out those stories. And now, a quote from Margaret Thatcher, and it got mixed reviews on our Facebook and some comments here. Maybe I'll get it up on the screen for everybody. So Margaret Thatcher, love her, leave her, whatever kind of thing you feel about Margaret Thatcher and what kind of legacy she's left on the world. She says, when the state does everything for you, it will soon take everything from you. Okay, so there you go. So many people commenting on there because I believe she was conservative, and the people commenting could have been liberal. Right away, it was an attack on her as her party and the fact that they don't subscribe to that party, right? So had nothing to do with what she said or if that statement is true or not. Is the statement true? When the state does everything for you, it will soon take everything from you. Yes or no, right? Do we have enough examples in history? Like we read the quote, the thing we know about history is that we don't learn from history, right? So are we learning from history? Is there enough in history that teaches us either this is true or it's false, right? So it's not a matter of, oh, Margaret Thatcher, one guy said, she destroyed Britain. So she destroyed Britain. Well, I think Britain's still here, and I think it's doing actually worse than when she was there. So other people have done a better job destroying it than she did, I'm sure. Someone says here, the state does nothing but give the illusion that they're doing something good. Really, though, they're doing the opposite. They're very good at giving the illusion of authority over people when this is unlawful. So another person says, agreed, we are the minions who do all the dirty work, like setting up the infrastructure for the agendas. Then they make it appear that they are doing it all. And another person says, the sad part is many of them don't even know what they're doing. Many questions, few answers, even after long enough being warned about what they're doing, what they're getting into. They don't even do a shred of research. Notice to agent is notice to principal. Ignorance of the law is not an excuse. I feel the day is coming soon. So yeah, it's a matter of people doing their research here. And there's other people too that want the welfare state, right? They agree that we should be entirely socialist, and they still are on board with that. They think somehow we can make it work where never in history other countries have been able to make this work for the good of the people. Again, I just used the example of the private road versus the public road. When have you been on the 407 and had to be held up by construction the last time you were on it, right? Like, how many potholes do you see on the 407? How many of these black tar lines do you see filling in cracks on the 407? Well, there's a reason for that. They build the road to last because they know it's their money going into it. They handle their money as if it's their own because it is their own, right? But when government has their money, do they handle it like that? So a lot of people, they put a lot of trust in the government. I don't understand where they get all this trust from, really don't. But here's somebody here to shed a little bit of a light on what's going on and what we're talking about.
Taxation in Canada is outright oppressive. According to a recent report by the Fraser Institute, individuals earning between $30,000 and $60,000 a year find themselves hit the hardest, often facing rates hovering around or exceeding 50%. As the report grimly states, many low-income families in Canada take home only 40 cents or less on each additional dollar earned because of the combination of higher taxes and loss of federal and provincial transfer benefits. This situation effectively reduces Canadian citizens into government slaves for half of the year. What do Canadians get in return for having such a substantial portion of their income stolen? An economy pegged to be the worst performing amongst advanced nations for the next 4 decades, one of the largest real estate bubbles of all time, a healthcare system that is in utter shambles, and $56,000 of debt per taxpayer. Expecting the government to fix the issues it has created is akin to seeking addiction advice from your drug dealer. The only hope for Canada's economic economic future is to remove this bureaucratic tumor, which serves no purpose other than to amass more power and resources at the expense of struggling citizens who are already grappling to put food on the table.
Yeah, and because I wasn't able to
Taxation in
stop
Canada
that,
is outright oppressive. According to
yeah, I got to get better on the ball with these types of things and stop them before the next video plays. It's incredible. But yeah, that deserves another play even. Like, did you get all that? Like, there's a lot. The Fraser Institute, they're basically out there, like any institute, they're trying to make research on, they're doing research on what's going on in your country. And then they're giving the results out. So this person is basically just reading the results of the research that the Fraser Institute did on the state of Canada. And they said some pretty telling things, and I think it deserves another play. So here you go.
Taxation in Canada is outright oppressive. According to a recent report by the Fraser Institute, individuals earning between $30,000 and $60,000 a year find themselves hit the hardest, often facing rates hovering around or exceeding 50%. As the report grimly states, many low-income families in Canada take home only 40 cents or less on each additional dollar earned because of the combination of higher taxes and loss of federal and provincial transfer benefits. This situation effectively reduces Canadian citizens into government slaves for half of the year. What do Canadians get in return for having such a substantial portion of their income stolen? An economy pegged to be the worst performing amongst advanced nations for the next 4 decades, one of the largest real estate bubbles of all time, a healthcare system that is in utter shambles, and $56,000 of debt per taxpayer. Expecting the government to fix the issues it has created is akin to seeking addiction advice from your drug dealer. The only hope for Canada's economic future is to remove this bureaucratic tumor, which serves no purpose other than to amass more power and resources at the expense of struggling citizens who are already grappling to put food on the table.
Well said. I had to play that again. I just apologize for those that have a really vivid memory and they heard it, everything he said, and it computed. You know, sometimes something is worth repeating, and I just think those facts are worth repeating. But what I don't understand is that somebody who would obviously where is all this coming from? Like, who are making the decisions that are leading to these things? Like, who's in the driver's seat, right? But if you have somebody who, let's say, voted Liberal and voted for change, you know, that's what they voted for when they ousted Stephen Harper. They couldn't handle him. He was just, didn't have any personality. You know what I mean? He just didn't have personality. Not one person could say any of the policies that he instituted that negatively affected him. The people that I know anyways, the people that I talked to. So why did you vote for Justin Trudeau? Well, you know, I just don't like Harper. Just don't. And he's young. He's got the nice hair. He's so good looking. He's such a good speaker. Good morning, Claire. Thanks for being on. Oh, he's such a good speaker. He's so charismatic, you know. But now, here's the results of that election that we're living now, and here is what we got. But no, it's not him. No, that's not him. No. It's the world. You know, all these things we had to go through, and you know, he's doing a great job. There's nothing he can do. It's like you had a problem with the way things were going when none of these problems were going on. Good morning, Liette. Thanks for being on. And now you don't see that there's problems and that he caused them. Like, yeah, you don't see any of that. What's going on? There's something wrong. And I've heard it was like a mind virus. I even coined the phrase myself, and I've heard other people saying it. It's like a mind virus. It's like a thought virus where you can't actually think properly. It's like you hear things like that, and you say the person that you put in there is doing these things, and you can't compute. No, it can't be him. No, it's other things. There's other reasons. You just can't see it. Who else am I going to vote for? I can't vote for anyone else. There's no way I can vote for a white supremacist and a misogynist. There's no way. It's like, where are you getting that from? That's just the way it is. It's true. Where did you hear that from? I didn't hear it anywhere. I just know because I read everything and I know everything. It's like, what? No, the person in charge is making decisions. That's why you put them in charge. And then it has results. And the results are here now, right? Another decision this government is making, they want to make all drugs free. Okay, they're making drugs free because it's a safe supply. So I'll retract that statement. They want to decriminalize drugs and bring BC to Toronto. So the mayor of Toronto, very, very communist, socialist ideologue, and wants BC in Toronto. They want all the drug users being able to go out and use meth in public parks and leave needles all over the place and just don't arrest anybody. And same thing as BC. They want that in Toronto. So now, because we can see what's going on in BC, and BC is actually saying we can't have this anymore. Our society is crumbling. In Parliament, basically, Poilievre says these policies are wacko. And then he's thrown out because he won't retract the statement saying the policies are wacko, which they are. That's all you can say. They are wacko. Drugs are bad. Then when you look, not all drugs are bad. You go to the hospital and you're in pain and the doctor says, okay, I'll give you something for the pain. That's not a bad situation for drugs. You're using drugs for a good reason. But if you're using drugs over and above that, and good morning, Bob. Yeah, and Trudeau is Canada's Barack Obama, and Toronto, and he's Canada's bankruptcy agent apparently too, because everything he's doing is driving us into bankruptcy. So Eric, thanks for joining us. Okay, so Eric has been triggered apparently. So it says, not sure who monitors and posts content on your Facebook page. There's just but it's full of false information, makes your page lose all credibility and legit news source. Okay, it's not a legit news source, by the way. We are News Talk. So we talk about the news and we create conversations around social issues, which we're doing right now. But if you do want to say, just say on the comments which particular post you're referring to, we'll be able to discuss that. I have no problem. And that's what it's for. So you have an issue with what's being put on the Facebook page, and it's me. It's just me. It's just me volunteering, wanting to have a conversation around the news, much to the chagrin of even policies that are made by this government to try and take news away so people can't be informed on major platforms, right? For some reason, we're still here. We're able to talk about it. We're going to do that. So we're going to try and make sense of the very confusing world we live in. And if that gets a conversation going on the platform, it's going to be on there. But yeah, no, this is the place to do it. Come on out. Come on out from the dark and come into the light and let us know what your issue is and we'll discuss it. And this is what we're here for. So I appreciate that, Eric. Let us know what false information was shared and we'll discuss it. So this is the way society should be, right? Nobody is trying to suppress another person's. Okay, so the one regarding trees in Canada offsetting our carbon emissions, which is factually incorrect. Okay, so trees do not consume carbon. That's interesting. They don't offset our carbon footprint at all. So that's interesting. I wonder why they want to plant more trees then if they don't eat carbon and emit oxygen. So that's a very interesting point that you make. So thanks for making that. But it's what you just said is false, right? So got to call a spade a spade. It's science. So now, why were the Conservatives kicked out of Parliament? Maybe this is fake news too. I don't know. It's coming right from an MP. There you go. Yeah, present the numbers you have. Okay. So this is from a link from a so it's a link you shared. Okay, that's great. So that's wonderful. I notice a lot of people that oppose free thought and actually doing your own research. They'll just go to quick, Science Magazine, and they'll just grab a link, says, sure, this will show you. But who funded that research that you're sharing right now? You got to look back to who funded it. And stay tuned on Friday. You're going to love Friday's show for sure, Eric. I hope you come back. So we look forward to having you on. This is where we educate each other on what's really going on in our society, right? So we welcome you and we welcome everyone like you. So what's going on in our parliament? Why are people being thrown out? Oh, well, we won't be able to get to it because we're out of time. You can catch that by researching it yourself. Just get online, look at why the Conservatives were booted out of Parliament by calling the Liberals' policies wacko, by wanting everybody to be able to shoot up in parks where your kids are and stuff like that. Like, is that right? Should if I want to use crystal meth, should I be using it in a public area? Should I be putting just leaving my needles all over where my children are and they're in the sand and my children come along and step on the needles? Is that what we want for our society? Again, is that what we want to make our country great? Are these decisions that this government is making our country great? Like, is that going to lead to something good? Can we look to BC and see how it's been going and how all the frontline workers are talking about what's going on? Do we want the same thing in Toronto? Do we want the same thing in Sudbury? Do we really want this? You can say no before it happens, because once it happens, there's a lot of damage that comes. So, yeah, we just want anyone to take drugs, whatever they want, whenever they want, wherever they want, and we don't want them to have any shame about it. And I don't care about if my kids encounter them somewhere totally, high on whatever drug they're on, and because I'm just going to keep my kids locked up inside on video games anyways, so they don't go to parks. They don't go outside to different public places anyways. So, yeah, they can go and do drugs wherever they want, whenever they want, do whatever they want, and they shouldn't be held accountable. And God forbid we try and rehabilitate them and get them off drugs. Like, that's really judgmental on that person is trying to say they need to be rehabilitated. Come on, like, that's really you're really saying things now that you're putting them down. You're shaming them by saying that you can actually rehabilitate them. Who are you to say you can rehabilitate? So what if they don't want to be rehabilitated? Exactly. No, let's just really give our head a shake and do we think for ourselves? Do we actually have critical thinking? Or do we allow other people to think for us? Like, what's going on? What makes our country great? Who's making the decisions? Whose money are they using? And what are we doing to hold people accountable for what they're doing with our money? That's all the time we have for the show today. We'll be back, God willing, same time, same place, on these same platforms. Thanks for being with us, everybody. And yeah, stay tuned for Friday's show, Eric. I hope that you're on. It's going to be a great show on climate change, on some of the misinformation that we've been given from some of the mainstream scientists and mainstream media on this. Yeah, misinformation from mainstream media. That's true. It does happen. And I will prove that on Friday, and each and every Friday right here on this show. So make sure to stay tuned for that. We appreciate you. And we appreciate these platforms. Stay tuned now for Earshot Daily on CKLU 96.7 FM. Ciao, everyone.
This is Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.